Josefina Guerrero was once a young woman full of life. She lived in Manila with her husband and young daughter. She had dreams and plans for her future, but one day, everything changed for her. She was diagnosed with Hansen's disease, which many people used to call leprosy. In the 1930s, this diagnosis was like a death sentence. It was not just a medical problem, it was a social one. People were terrified of the disease. They did not understand it. They believed it was highly contagious and a curse. Because of this fear, Josefina was forced to leave her home and her family. She was sent to a special hospital, a sanitarium, where she lived with others who had the same illness. The stigma was heavy. It was a burden she had to carry every single day. Friends she once knew turned away from her. Neighbors would whisper behind her back when they saw her. The community that once embraced her now pushed her away. She was treated like an outcast, someone to be avoided at all costs. Imagine the pain of being separated from your own child, unable to hold her or watch her grow up. This was Josefina's reality. She lost her home, her husband, and the simple joy of being a mother. The illness took more than just her health. It tried to take her identity and her spirit. She was isolated from the world she once knew, living behind the walls of the sanitarium. Life in the sanitarium was lonely and difficult. It was a place of sorrow for many. But Josefina was a fighter. She refused to let her illness define her completely. She saw the suffering around her and decided to help. She became a source of comfort for other patients. She would read to them and write letters for those who could not. Even in her darkest moments, she found a way to bring a little bit of light to others. This resilience, this strength of character, was being forged in the fires of her personal tragedy. It was this same strength that she would later use to fight for her country, proving that even outcasts could become heroes. Then, the world outside her isolated community also fell into chaos. In December 1941, the Japanese Imperial Army invaded the Philippines. The war had arrived at her doorstep. The sounds of bombs and gunfire replaced the quiet sorrow of the sanitarium. The Japanese occupation brought a new kind of fear and suffering to everyone in the country. For Josefina, this was a turning point. She saw her fellow Filipinos suffering under a brutal regime. She knew she could not just stand by and watch. Her personal battle against her disease was about to merge with her country's fight for freedom. She was ready to find a new purpose. When the Japanese took control of Manila, a secret resistance movement started to form. These brave men and women fought back in the shadows. They needed people to gather information, to act as spies. They needed someone who could move around without attracting too much attention. Josefina heard about the resistance and knew she had to join. She wanted to contribute, to do something meaningful for her country. She approached a friend who was connected to the underground network. At first, they were hesitant. How could a woman with Hansen's disease be a spy? But Josefina was persistent. She convinced them that she could be useful. Her quiet determination won them over. Her first tasks were simple but important. She started by mapping out the Japanese fortifications along the coastline. She would walk for miles, carefully observing the locations of machine gun nests, pillboxes, and artillery placements. She memorized every detail, every position. Then, she would draw detailed maps from memory and pass them on to the resistance fighters. These maps were incredibly valuable. They helped the Allied forces, especially the Americans, plan their attacks. Her work saved countless lives by giving them the information they needed to avoid traps and strike effectively. Josefina was no longer just a patient. She was now an intelligence agent, a vital part of the war effort. Her role soon expanded beyond just mapping. She became a courier, carrying secret messages between different resistance groups. This was extremely dangerous work. If she were caught by the Japanese soldiers, she would face torture and certain death. She would hide the messages in her hair, in her shoes, or even in hollowed-out food items. She walked through crowded markets and past Japanese checkpoints, her heart pounding with fear. But she never showed it. On the outside, she looked like an ordinary woman going about her day. No one suspected that she was carrying secrets that could change the course of the war in the Philippines. Her courage was remarkable. Every mission was a risk. Every step she took was a step into enemy territory. The city she once called home was now a landscape of danger. Japanese patrols were everywhere, and their secret police, the Kempeitai, were known for their brutality. Yet, Josefina continued her work without hesitation. She was motivated by a deep love for her country and a desire to see it free again. She had lost so much in her personal life. but she found a new sense of purpose in fighting for a cause greater than herself. She was proving that heroism could come from the most unexpected places. Josefina's greatest weapon was the very thing that had made her an outcast. Her illness, Hansen's disease, became her shield. The Japanese soldiers were just as afraid of leprosy as everyone else. They held the same prejudices and fears about the disease. They would not dare touch her or even get too close to her. They would not search her thoroughly at checkpoints. The fear of contagion was so strong that it created a protective barrier around her. Josefina understood this and used it to her advantage. She was, in a way, invisible to the enemy. They saw her illness, not the spy hiding in plain sight. This unique advantage allowed her to take on even more dangerous missions. She could walk past guards without being stopped. She could deliver supplies, medicine, and information to guerrillas hiding in the mountains. While other spies had to rely on clever disguises or false documents, Josefina relied on the enemy's fear. It was a brilliant and brave strategy. She turned her personal tragedy into a powerful tool for the resistance. She was the leper agent, a name whispered with respect among the freedom fighters. She was a ghost who could move through enemy lines, protected by the very disease that society had condemned her for. Her most famous and most critical mission came in early 1945. The American forces were preparing to retake Manila. They needed to know the exact locations of the minefields the Japanese had planted all over the city. This information was crucial to prevent massive casualties among the advancing soldiers and civilians. The resistance entrusted this life-or-death mission to Josefina. She was given a map with the minefield locations marked on it. Her task was to get this map through heavily guarded Japanese lines and deliver it to the American forces on the other side of the city. The fate of thousands rested on her shoulders. Carrying the precious map, she began her perilous journey. She taped it to her back, knowing that the soldiers would not dare to pat her down. She walked for miles, her body weak from her illness but her spirit unbroken. She had to cross a river and navigate through areas with active fighting. At every checkpoint, she held her breath, but her strategy worked. The Japanese soldiers waved her through, wanting to keep their distance from her. She finally reached the American lines, exhausted but successful. She handed over the map to a grateful American officer. Her incredible bravery had just saved Manila from even greater destruction. After the war ended, Josefina hoped for a new beginning. She had risked her life for freedom, but her struggles were far from over. The stigma of her illness remained. Even though she was a war hero, many people still saw her as an outcast. She was not celebrated with parades or given grand medals immediately after the conflict. Instead, she returned to a life of isolation. The country she helped save was not yet ready to fully embrace her. She had to continue her fight, not against an enemy army, but against prejudice and misunderstanding. It was a lonely and difficult battle after years of sacrifice. Eventually, her story of bravery reached the United States. The American government, which had benefited so much from her espionage, recognized her incredible contributions. In 1948, she was awarded the Medal of Freedom with Silver Palm, one of the highest civilian honors given by the United States. It was a powerful acknowledgement of her courage and her vital role in the Allied victory. This award helped to bring her story out of the shadows. It was a moment of vindication for a woman who had been overlooked for so long. She later moved to the United States, where she was finally able to receive better medical treatment for her condition. Josefine Guerrero's life is a testament to the power of the human spirit. She transformed her greatest vulnerability into her greatest strength. She showed the world that a hero is not defined by their physical condition, but by their courage and their willingness to fight for what is right. She was a woman who was rejected by society but refused to be broken. Instead, she channeled her pain into a powerful force for good, becoming one of the most effective spies of the Pacific War. Her story challenges our ideas of who a hero can be, reminding us that they can come from any walk of life. Today, her legacy continues to inspire. She is an unsung heroine whose tale deserves to be told and retold. She represents the countless brave Filipinos who resisted the occupation in their own ways. Josefine Guerrero was more than just a spy. She was a symbol of resilience, a woman who faced down disease, social stigma, and a brutal enemy. She proved that one person, no matter their circumstances, can make a profound difference. Her name should be remembered alongside the great heroes of World War II, a shining example of courage in the face of overwhelming adversity.
So hit that subscribe and ring that bell too, for history's wonders waiting for you. Billy and Works, let the knowledge ignite, exploring the past with all of our might.